Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Again, my name is Nick Rudolph. I'm the Baltimore Regional Director with Maryland Capital Enterprises. And today we're going to spend the next hour talking about the first steps of starting your business. We only have a few folks in here today, so if you've got questions, feel free to raise your hand or even just unmute yourself and ask. And we'll go ahead and get started. And of course, I'll save some time for questions at the end. So first, a little bit about who we are. We are Maryland Capital Enterprises. We are what's known as a Community Development Financial Institution, or a CDFI. Most people think of us as a nonprofit bank, but we're really so much more than that. So we actually started back in 1998 on the Eastern Shore, giving out small loans out of a convent in the southern counties. We grew, became an SBA lender, and by 2012, we hopped over to the Western Shore in the Baltimore region. We offer loans, but we also offer business consulting, business education. We have access to consultants, in person and webinar classes. We help folks at all stages of their business, whether they're brand new or existing. And we are also an SBA Women's Business Center in both our Baltimore and Salisbury offices, which means that we can offer enhanced services to women-owned businesses. You can check out more at our websites, marylandcapital.org, and Women's Business Center at marylandcapitalenterprises.org. So when most people talk to us, they're talking to us about a loan, and we are a micro lender. We lend funds from a number of different government partners, both federal and state. But really, if you apply for a loan with us and you are approved, we're going to get you into whatever is going to have, the lowest interest rate and the longest term. We do that because we want your minimum payment to be as small as possible. That way, if you pay any more, that will go directly to your principal. There are no prepayment penalties. But we are also, and separately, a service provider. We provide, like I said, again, the counseling, the training. We can help you develop your business plans, your cash flows, really anything business related. And we serve the Maryland Eastern Shore, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. So now that you know a little bit about us, we're going to get into the first steps for starting a new business. So the first thing is, why do folks want to start a small business? And the reality is, it's to make money. And it's to make money in a way that they're interested in or something they're passionate about. Oftentimes, these things just start off as a hobby and you start making a little bit of money, you dip your toe into entrepreneurship, and then all of a sudden you're growing to a full-time business. People like to do it so they can be their own boss, have more flexible hours, or just get into another career. Some of these things are more important to folks than others. Some of these are a little bit more accurate than others, and we're going to go through and talk about each of these throughout the rest of this webinar. So when I think about starting a small business, I think about something like building a giant skyscraper or a building downtown. When you're downtown and you see that a building is going to go up, you'll see a flat lot for a long time. There'll be a fence around it, there'll be signs up, but it'll feel like nothing's going on. And really what's going on there is the planning, the studies, and the foundation building. If you spend your time building a strong foundation, you notice that once the building starts to go up, it goes up very quickly and is open pretty quickly and is pretty strong. So the more you invest at the beginning of your business, your both time and resources, the stronger the business is probably going to be as you grow. And that's going to require thorough planning, real creativity. You want to think about anything that could go wrong and you want to plan for it. And of course, hard work. If you're starting a business because you think it will be easier to work for yourself than someone else, you might want to rethink that a little bit. That is all to say that this is going to take some serious time. We all want to be able to start getting our businesses open as quickly as possible, but if we want it to last 10, 20 years, an entire career, it's okay to spend 6 or 9 months planning before you actually open up. So this is what I like to call the scary slide about all these businesses closing within the first 2, 5, and 10 years. But it's not as bad as it seems. Oftentimes businesses close for good reasons. Folks retire, they sell the business, they're a serial entrepreneur, so they've got everything they got out of one business and they want to start another one. And another reason is, there's folks who are chefs and they open up restaurants and they get tired of one type of food, they close that down and open up another one doing a different kind of food. But it is risky to start a small business. And there's ways that you can mitigate that risk by becoming an LLC and also, like I said, building that strong foundation. So Here are 20 questions that you want to ask yourself before starting a small business. And we will be able to email you all of these slides after the presentation. So I'm not going to go through and read all of these for you. But basically, with these first 10, you want to think about why are you doing this? What kind of business do you want to have and who are you going to serve? You might also want to think about, are you going to be a brick and mortar or are you going to be a home-based business? Are you going to need to hire employees and are you going to need supplies? Do you have the capital to get started with the business? And if not, how are you going to get that funding? You also want to think about the lead time. How long will it take from planning to actually making money? You want to understand who your competition is. No matter how unique your business is, you have competition. You want to learn what they do well, and you want to understand how you're going to compete with them. You want to figure out your price point, your legal structure, what taxes you need to pay, and all of the sort of insurance, all of that kind of stuff, licensing. You want to make sure you have all of that in hand before you open, and then you want to start thinking about how you're going to advertise and market your business. So these are the 10 steps, and you'll notice that they are numbered, but it's important to know that this isn't really like a timeline. These things can be done in different orders for whatever makes the most sense for your building. One is not important than 10, more important than 10 or anything. So the first thing you're already doing, get a business assistance and training. Living in Maryland, you have more access to free small business resources than just about anywhere else in the country. Take advantage of all of them. Talk to all of us, ask us all the same questions. We have different experiences and we can give you different answers. And hopefully, through talking to every organization, you'll get everything that you need. Writing a business plan. We're going to go into some detail about what needs to be in a business plan, but it's more than just something you use to get a loan or a grant. It's something that will help ground you as you're starting your business. If you're an employer, you want to understand your responsibilities. You want to think about where your business is going to be located, and that can be more than just brick and mortar or home based. You might want to think what city you're going to live in or you're going to open in, and what part of the city. Are there incentives for opening your business somewhere versus across the street? Find out if you can get things like facade improvement grants and tax credits for moving into certain neighborhoods. You want to figure out your legal structure. Are you a S corp, a sole proprietor, or an LLC? The answer is going to be different for each business. You want to register a name, and if you're thinking you might want to be more of an umbrella with many small businesses, are you going to have one larger group, Nick Corp, with smaller businesses doing business as Nick's dog walking business? You want to register for your state and local and federal. It's best to get your federal ID first because it makes getting your local stuff figured out quicker. You want to make sure you get all of your licenses. That means you want to talk to your state, your county, and your city to make sure that you're doing it all right. Then you want to talk about how you're going to finance your business. Did you scratch off a lottery ticket and you got 50,000 to start it off, or are you going to need to get the money from somewhere? Are you going to be able to keep your job as you're growing your business? These are all questions you want to be asking yourself. And then you want to develop a marketing plan. And when we go through the business plan, we're going to discuss about how marketing is much more than just how you're going to advertise your business. So before I move forward, are there any questions right now? All righty. So the first thing you want to do is understand your market. You want to understand, who lives near you, who is going to be your customer, and what are their needs. Where is there some sort of need in the environment, and how are you going to solve that problem? This is going to reduce your business risk. It's going to determine whether or not there's room for you. It'll let you sort of see if there might be something upcoming in your industry that could be either a problem or an opportunity. And then it also is good for data collection and citation for your business plan. So when you say your industry is growing 10% year over year, you can show somewhere that actually proves that that is true. So when you're doing that research, to figure out if you're growing and who your competitors are, there are a number of different ways you can do that. A Google search is a good way to start. You're going to be looking for industry publications, government websites. If you've got a local chamber, they might have your answers for you. If you're in a trade with a trade organization, you can talk to them. And you really want to think local, national, regionally, and now even international, since so much stuff is done online. So, your competitors are not just going to be the store next to you. It could be a store on a different continent. So you want to really be thinking about that. So there are some advantages and of course disadvantages to starting your small business. The pros are that you're your own boss. You really can't be fired. The amount of work you do is going to sometimes determine your income. You're doing something hopefully that you're passionate about and that you love. And then once your business gets growing enough, you're helping others provide for their families by creating jobs. But especially as you start your business, you're going to be working a lot of long hours. You're going to be taking some financial risk. If you don't have a job while you're starting your business, you're probably going to go without income for a while. And how are you going to survive on that? You might need additional education, training, or licensing. So figure that out before you open, because the worst thing is when you get open and then you get shut down by the government. You're probably not taking a vacation for a couple of years. You're probably not finding a lot of time for yourself for a couple of years. And while, yes, you are the boss because you own the business, you do have a lot of bosses. Your customers, you've got to keep happy. Your employees, you got to keep, working hard and encouraged to work for you. So, even though you are the big boss, you are answering to different folks. Now, a lot of folks like to talk about grants to start small businesses. I'm just going to pop the balloon. There just really are not a lot of grants for small businesses right now. The only ones that I know that are sort of across the board are facade improvement grants. A lot of municipalities or counties, if you go to certain areas, will pay a certain percentage of your signage, things like accessibility ranks, security cameras, lighting, things like that. But if you're in one of these businesses listed here, there is a chance that if you talk to your state, there might be some grants available. I've seen them more recently in sort of the healthcare, childcare, assisted living world. There's less than there was during the pandemic, but if you look, you might be able to find some. A better way to go for free money is to enter pitch competitions that if you win, you can often get a couple of $1,000s that you would not have to pay back. So now we're going to talk about the keys to success and what it takes to start a business and be successful. So first of all, you need to make sure that you've got the necessary skills for your industry. And if you don't have them, which is okay, you have to have a plan for getting those. Do you have a mentor? Are you currently in school for that? Just let us know what that is. You also want to think about what type of business experience, management experience you currently have, and that can be in or out of the industry. If you were a shift leader at a Taco Bell in high school and college, that gives you experience in managing employees. That's something that you want to build off of as you're building your business. You also need to be able to effectively recognize, improvise, and solve problems. You're going to plan, and the first thing that goes wrong is going to be something that you never planned for. You're going to have to be able to think quickly, solve it quickly so that you can get to making money. And then again, as I said, if you don't have the necessary skills, how are you going to get them? So, the sort of technical stuff when you're starting your business is, what kind of zoning requirements are there? Are you actually allowed to have your business in the neighborhood you want to open in? You got to see what your licensing is. What type of licenses do you need to open? And then we're going to talk about really all of this is your bail team, the rest of it. And your bail team is a team that you want to have. This doesn't mean that you have to have them on retainer. These are folks that you want to know and have some kind of relationship with, I'm sorry. So the first one, the banker. As soon as you decide you want to start a business, go to your local bank where you have an account, ask to talk to your business banker, say, look, I'm thinking about starting a business. This is what I want to do, and this is where I want to do it. What's the best way to do this so that I can eventually get a loan from your bank? You want to be honest and transparent. So if you've got some credit issues, talk about that up front. The thing that banks and folks like us hate the worst is surprises. If we know you have some mispayments on your credit report and you've explained to us why, it's going to be a lot easier for us to explain to our decision makers than if we think you tell us you've got a 750 credit score and then you really have got a 550. So you want to be honest, and sometimes that's hard. Also, a lot of banks offer free small business education accelerator programs, and often those will have pitch competitions. You want to have an accountant, even if you are an accountant. As you're starting a business, I come from the restaurant world and we say we're in the weeds, and you're going to be in the weeds as you're starting your business. Somebody on the outside overlooking your finances is going to make sure that you're compliant with state and federal laws so that you are in good standing. If you're not in good standing, then you're not going to be eligible for the services of CDFIs and many government agencies. You want an insurance agency. All of your businesses are going to need insurance. So, find an agent, talk to a few different companies, figure out who you feel comfortable with, and then make sure you're properly covered. Every year or so, recheck that insurance, see if there's a way you can save some money, or if you need to, get some more insurance as you grow. And then you want to have a lawyer that that knows about your business, so that in case something goes wrong, you've got somebody who has at least got a head start to helping you out. So the next part is going to be about business plan development and cash flow planning. So before we get sort of into that nitty gritty, are there any questions? Alrighty, so now we're going to talk a little bit about a business plan. So first of all, what is the business plan and what should it contain? Well, it is the blueprint for your business. This is going to be the thing that's going to tell you how you're going to start, and after you started, how that business is going to run. If there are problems as you're doing your business, or if you get, just sort of flustered, it's that document you can look at to ground yourself and figure out what to do next. But you want to really consider your audience when you're writing a business plan. And I like to look at it like a resume. Folks like to write a big resume that covers everything they've done, and then they change it to match whoever is going to be reading the resume. So with your business plan, if you're applying for a loan, if you're applying for a grant, you do want to talk about how you're hiring within the community, you're hiring returning citizens, all of these great things that you're doing for the community, because that's what grant funders care about. If you're applying for a loan, we like all that stuff, but really the most important thing is, are you going to be able to pay back that loan? So you're going to put certain things in front of other things based on who's reading your business plan. So I like to think that there are 4 sections of a business plan, but you know how to tell your story better than I do. So as long as all of this information is captured, it doesn't necessarily need to be in this order. The first section that I suggest is the executive summary. So this is your elevator speech, your opening. This is where you're going to briefly describe your business. You're going to make a quick ask. You're going to talk about your passion, and it's going to set up the rest of the plan, which means it's often easier to write it at the end. I also encourage, if you are searching for a loan, to start your opening sentence with something like, Nick's Dog Walking Service is a dog LLC is a dog walking service in Baltimore, Maryland, owned by Nick Rudolph. We are seeking a $5,000 loan for marketing and leashes and whatever else that's going to be. That way, after they've read that first few sentences, they know what you're looking for. So they're going to be reading your business plan with that in mind. This is not going to be a very long section. The next section, your marketing plan, will probably be your longest section of the plan. So before you talk about advertising, what you're going to want to talk about is describing your industry and showing that there is potential for growth in the industry generally, and then also locally. You want to talk about who your target customer base is. Even if you can serve everybody, we need you to drill down to a specific client base. So if you're opening up a salon, sure, you can cut anybody's hair, but maybe you're targeting African American women, 24 to 55 years old, who make $150,000 to $200,000 a year, because you're a higher end salon, and that's where your employees have expertise. So that's what you want to be thinking about there. Your competition. As I said, this is a good place where you want to list, 3 competitors or so. You want to talk about what they do well and how you're going to compete with them. What is your special sauce? And you also, like I said before, want to think locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. We had a comic book store. The owner listed 2 local stores in Amazon.com. That showed the loan committee that they understood that everything they sold just about could be bought online. So they understood that they had competitors that were more than just folks you can see when you open up the door. They were able to get their loan. Then you want to talk about your cost and pricing policy. So are you going to be high end, middle of the road, or a value proposition? And then, sort of then you're going to want to talk about your marketing and sales strategy. And don't just say social media. We want to know specifically what you're going to be doing. And that can also include, if you're assisted living, having money to go and network with hospitals and folks who could be funneling patients to you. And all of this is to identify your competitive edge. Again, that's what we like to call your special sauce. The next section is your organization and operations. And this is really where you're going to talk about your legal form, your location, is it open to the public or is it more online and telephone? Will you have employees? But also you really want to think about a contingency plan. What happens if you get sick and you can't work for 6 weeks or 3 months? How is your business going to survive? And since we are sort of coming out of the pandemic, just a sentence or two about what happens if one of your employees or customers tells you that that they had COVID while interacting either with you or your employees or customers. What is your plan there? And then your financial plan. This is if you're a startup, you're going to want to talk about your startup costs, your break-even points. If you're already existing, you want to talk about some past performance and where you expect to go forward. And if you're looking for a loan, if you know you have some credit issues, personally, this might be a place where you want to discuss it specifically for when you're giving it to that lender. The next section is your cash flows, but before we talk about that, it's important to know that business plans do not need to be an encyclopedia. They don't need to be super long. We've got a great business plan template that has, many questions that we've heard decision makers ask under each of those four headings, which we will also be able to email to everybody here. Your business plan might be shorter than the template. Really, as long as you can get all the information out there, the more concise, the better, because the folks reviewing them are reading, sometimes dozens of these, and they can get glossed over. So if you're able to just sort of bullet point it out, and they can see exactly what you're asking for, and you can prove that you're worthy of it, in 5 to 10 pages, it's a lot better than 50 to 100 pages. So what the cash flows are really is it's just showing the money coming in and going out so that you can figure out when you're going to be making some money. And you need them for most loans or grants. You need it for planning, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through a little bit more. It shows the difference between profit and cash flow. You might be pulling in $5 million a month, but if you're spending 5.5, you're not doing well. And it's just good governance, and it shows you when you can take some money out. So this is a living document. This is going to change over the life of your business. And in fact, not only will some cells not be accurate, most of them won't be accurate to what actually happens. What we're looking for is an understanding that sort of in a worst case scenario, you can pay your employees, pay your distributors, pay yourself, and pay back your loan. If you think you're going to make $1 billion in the first year, don't say that on your business plan, because that's going to scare away a small business lender. Show that you're going to be able to make it with just a little bit. So a good example of that is we had a person who made handmade wedding invitations. They charged $1,000 about per wedding, and they said in their cash flows there's 10,000 weddings a year in Maryland. We're going to make $10 million a year. Well, we all know that not everybody gets, $1,000 invitations. People elope, people make their own invitations. So he said, show that you can do it on 5 or 10 a month. And then if you do more, that's just gravy. So you just really want to be, realistic and even conservative in your projections. You want to break down your income streams and expense streams as much as possible. If you have a restaurant, you might do dine-in, carry-out, or catering, or possibly food, alcohol, and merchandise. So that way you can see if each one is doing what you projected, and if it's not, you can make a decision. If you thought you were going to be, 70-30 food to drink, but you're really 50-50, do you want to focus more on the food to get that up? Or are you just seeing that you're selling more alcohol and you want to go stronger that way? You also want to figure out if your sales change month to month. If you're a landscaper, you're going to be doing different stuff in December than you are in April. And so we're going to want to see that. Include your loan as income and your loan payments as expenses. If you've got other financing, tell us. Banks, as much as they're competitors, they're also collaborators. We all talk to each other. And if you're applying for a loan somewhere else and thinking you're going to get one over on us, you're not. We're going to find out. And like I said before, the thing that we hate the most in the world is surprises. And then we also want to make sure you're paying yourself. We are a nonprofit. We're here designed to help small businesses build community. In order to do that, you need to be able to, eat, have shelter, wear clothing, and have a little bit of fun. So we want to make sure that you're able to have a quality of life as well. So now I'm going to go into how our lending works. We are very similar to most CDFIs, but there is going to be different different small differences for each different lender. So the first one, we do small business loans. We're what's known as a micro lender, so we're not the people you go to for millions of dollars. For a startup, anybody who's less than 2 years old, business that's less than 2 years old, you can go from 5,000 to 35,000. If you've been around longer than that, you can go all the way up to 150,000. The term is going to be based on the size of the loan. 50,000 will probably be 6 or 7 years. Anything over 100 or so will be 10 years. Something like 30, 35 will probably be right at 5 years. Our interest rates are currently set at 6 to 12%, but honestly, in the last 4 or 5 years, most of these loans are going out at 8%. Occasionally on the bigger ones, they'll go down to 7%. We do require collateral, but we can be very flexible with what that is, and it doesn't necessarily need to be the full value of the loan. Our loans are 100% personally guaranteed. We do not check business credit. We only check personal credit. So anybody who owns 20% or more of the business is going to have to personally guarantee the loan. If you've got an ownership structure where nobody owns 20%, we're going to want to see 3 or 4 folks personally guarantee the loan. All of our services to help you get through to application, all of our counseling, all of that is free whether or not you apply for a loan. But when you do apply, there is an application fee. It's $100 plus $25 credit report fee per owner. We only pull TransUnion and we only do a soft pull. If you do get the loan, there's going to be some closing costs associated. We take that from the loan proceeds. Usually a $50,000 loan will walk out the door with somewhere just north of 48,000. We do ACH debit payments. So we're going to be pulling money out of your account once a month. It's going to be automatic. So if you know you're not going to be able to make your payment, let us know a week ahead of time. We'll figure something out. We can interest only, we can defer, we can even restructure the loan. On the other side, if you're going gangbusters and making tons of money, there's no prepayment penalties. What that means is, anything you put in above your minimum monthly payment is going to go straight to the principal. It gets you out of the loan quicker, you pay less interest, and we've got the money to get back out on the streets to folks who need it. We're going to visit you twice a year, either virtually or in person as you have the loan. We're going to talk about how your business is doing, look over some books, and then talk to you about any resources that we might have that can help you grow. And the big question is my business eligible and what can we spend this money on? So basically any business in Maryland that's in our service area, again, the Eastern Shore, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County, that is not in the sin industries, that what they call the adult bookstores, 100% alcohol, things like that. We are able to work with both medical and recreational cannabis, however, so we can do that. The other thing is that if you have got a building that's in real estate, a business that's in real estate investment, we couldn't fund the purchase or rehab of properties. We could, fund the build out of your office. We could fund, reusable equipment like ladders and power saws. We couldn't fund things like nails and drywall. For other businesses, really any business related expense we can do unless you are home based. If you are home based, we cannot pay your rent, mortgage, or utilities or anything like that. But other than that, salaries, business supplies, build out furniture, computers, paper, pens, all that stuff we can pay for. We also have a credit builder loan. This is for folks who just want to dip their toe into entrepreneurship, maybe have no credit or some credit issues, or are an existing business and need money a little bit quicker. We're going to be talking about timelines in just a moment. This can go from $500 to $5,000. Generally, they're 2-year terms at 9%. They do not require collateral, but of course, collateral is great. Everything else is the same except for much lower application fee and closing costs. If you got this loan because you have some credit issues and you're paying off 6, 8, 12 months and you need more money, you can always get a second loan or always apply for a second loan with us. So how are you eligible for a loan with us? So we have a committee of reviewers that are local volunteers. They're generally bankers, retired bankers, business leaders, and nonprofit leaders. What we're looking for is a thorough business plan, experience in the field, or how you're going to get experience in that field, the strength of your cash flow, the strength of your collateral, Notice it says reasonable credit. It does not have a minimum credit score. What we're looking at, what you've been doing is in the last, 12 to 18 months, we're looking for things like missed payments. There are only two disqualifiers. That is a bankruptcy discharge in the last 24 months or a tax debt without a payment plan. Anything else we're able to look at. That doesn't mean you're 100% guaranteed to get the loan, but it just means that you're not disqualified. We're going to look at the general economic conditions for the venture. So is this the right time to open this business? Is this the right place to open this business? If you're opening up a pizza shop on a block with 5 other pizza shops, you're going to have to convince us that there's room for you there. And then your ability to repay that loan. If the business is not successful, can you get back into the workforce and pay off that loan? So our application documents are pretty similar to what most folks are looking for. All of our applications are done online. So the first thing that you do is fill out a client intake form. That is going to give us a baseline, help us understand where you're at, and then we can develop a plan for both technical assistance and applying for the loan. The business loan application, that is the form where you're going to upload everything past the personal information supplement. These are, of course, if you're a brand new business, you're not going to have profit and losses or business taxes or quarterly balance sheets. So, of course, you don't need to upload those. But everything else is going to be required. Proof that you were turned down by another lender doesn't mean you have to have gone through an entire application process. Just having spoken to a bank and them saying, hey, look, we don't do startups, that's enough. And then the other relevant attachments that can either be emailed to your business consultant or added here. These are things like leases, estimates, quotes, invoices, contracts, reference letters, resumes. If you've got a chair at a salon and you're opening up your own salon and you come to us with a stack of 30 letters saying that these folks are going to move to your salon when you open, it's going to be a pretty easy loan to get approved. So, things like that is what we're looking for there. So how does the application process work? We take applications through the first Friday of the month. You need to do a client intake form first. At that point, you're assigned an MCE staff person. You submit the paperwork. You work with that person to get it right to where it needs to be. The loan committee will meet during the 4th week of the month. They'll determine if whether or not you get the loan and the loan amount. I will say we do not partially fund loans. If you need 50 or if you need 25,000, do not ask for 50 thinking we might fund you for half of that. Because if we fund you for less than you ask for, what we are seeing is that we are setting you up for failure with debt. So when you're saying you need something, make sure that that's the amount that you actually need. If it's a yes, we're going to issue you a commitment letter pretty much right away. And then the loans are generally funded 3 to 4 weeks from approval. As I said before, being in Maryland, you've got so many great small business resources. Talk to all of these folks. The business center at libraries are just absolutely amazing and well underused. But you're already talking with us. You've probably already talked with the SBA. A lot of the universities will have special programs for entrepreneurs, and then your local business organizations. Your downtown partnerships, your main streets, things like that. So before I end this and open it up for questions, I like to say this at the end of all of my presentations. These are 5 things to remember when applying for business capital. The first thing is when you're starting your business, as I said, you don't want to quit your day job. You want to be making income so that you can show you can pay the loan back. Unless you are an accountant, and even if you are an accountant, you do need an accountant. That's going to make sure that you are able to, stay in compliance and be eligible for all these funds. Ask for help. You're already doing it, but just keep on doing it. Take advantage of every resource that you have. Keep your money in the bank. When you're about to apply for a loan, it's not the time to open up credit cards, buy a house, buy a car. You want to make sure that you're not taking out a lot of debt as you're applying for this business loan. And be a part of your community. Don't be an island. Sponsor the local softball team, give to local charities, join your chamber or your Rotary or your Main Street or anything like that. When you are giving the charities, unfortunately, we're living in a pretty divided time, so you want to be careful about who you give to. Things like kids, schools, animals, veterans, all that kind of stuff usually is pretty safe to go with. It's sort of the same reason why if you walk into a bar, you're going to have sports on and not news, because if they had either Fox or MSNBC on, they'd be immediately turning off half of the people who walk into their establishment. Unless you're a political organization, your customers shouldn't really know how you vote. So we've got a lot more free classes coming up. These are just the next three. We've got things planned, I think, all the way out through August. The social media basics is a great webinar. If you're an existing business and you want to be doing work with the government, the 8A one is amazing. And then we've got a great specialist coming in to talk about, what your financial statements are telling your lender and also yourself. Those are all available at marylandcapital.org under our education tab. You sign up, you get a link. If you can't make it, you can always request a video and you can request the slides as well. With that, I will open it up to any questions. That's my contact information. And then Miri Zen is our Women's Business Center coordinator up here in Baltimore. So she can help get you in touch with the Women's Business Center. Are there any questions?
No, but thank you very much.
Yep.
Nick, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
I am already an independent contractor. I received 1099s for appraisal services.
Okay.
And I'm looking at just doing everything on my own instead of working with a local company.
Sure.
And during COVID, I did receive an economic impact SBA loan.
Mm-hmm.
Does that prohibit me from doing anything in the future?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. No. Those, I mean, generally you can get as many loans as you want. There's no limit, but especially those disaster loans.
Okay.
That really wouldn't come into play at all.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. I mean, that's structured so that I'm making very affordable payments.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay. All right. Fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming. You got my contact information here. We'll be sending out all of the information, and this video will be popping up on YouTube at some point in time. But if you have any questions, I always think about my best questions about 10 minutes after something ends. Feel free to, just send me an email and I'll get back to you right away. Looks like we'll have about 20 minutes left for our lunch breaks, which is good for everybody. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.